Hello.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, nice.
I brought y'all right on in. How are
Think you're
y'all doing
slick, huh?
tonight, Randy and Jesse? How is everything?
Good.
Doing just peach.
See, Randy's got his support there with him tonight.
She's acting kind of
Long as it's,
slicky tonight. I think it's the storm.
yeah, long as it doesn't jump in the candle, you should be fine.
Yeah.
She had one night she decided she got a little bit too curious and got a little singed.
Oh no. You should be getting your all's candles here pretty soon. I got them in the mail today, so.
Return to sender. Hell, I don't know who the hell that is. Take those, send them back to where the hell they came from.
Right?
I see a lot of familiar faces tonight, guys. We've got a good show in store for you tonight. We've got Cyrus here. He's from the Venomous Fringe. He's going to be sharing some of his investigations, encounters with us tonight. I've been looking really forward to having this show tonight. I was actually privileged to be on his show. He's got a really good show, so go over and check his channel out. Really good channel. He's a very good interviewer, and I think he's got a lot of things that he's working on right now, and he'll probably tell us about it here in a little bit. We'll let him explain some of what he's got going on and how to find him and everything. Jesse, Randy, is there anything you'd like to say before we kick this show off? Because I don't want to keep him late tonight and drive him as crazy as the rest of the Abnormal family.
No, I'm ready to go.
I really thought those headphones had ears on them for a moment, but that's like your hair in double ponytail.
Yeah.
That's what I
really thought that was headphones with ears on them. I've got it like a nephew who's got, or niece that's got headphones with ears on them. I'm like, oh, those are some cool headphones.
Yeah, no, my daughter has ones that have cat ears on them, but no, this is my hair.
It kind of looked like that at first glance. Just picking on.
All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and bring Chris in, and we'll start this show. We'll get this thing going. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Good evening, everybody. Pleasure to be here tonight on the Abnormal Show, and of course, getting to meet everyone. I know, Stephen, we've met before, but of course, hello to Jesse and Randy. It's the first time engaging and interacting, so it's a pleasure to be here this evening. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
I'm happy to be here. It's going to be a very fun show. I can't wait to, of course, talk about, any of you guys' questions you guys have, and of course, anything we discuss here tonight. And as, me as a show host, normally I'm so used to doing these kind of shows and having it be the introductionary. So it's different doing it from the opposite realm this time. always being the guest. And I had Steven on. We did a show back a few weeks ago, and it was a very, very, very great show. We had a very good dialogue. We talked a lot of good things. And in return, here we are doing this show. And, as I was sitting here waiting, I was watching your guys' intro, and I was like, yeah, I love how everybody has a theme and a style for their show, and I really like your guys' style. And I'm not saying that because I'm on the show being interviewed. It has nothing to do with that. But I will tell you, I love people who have creativity and passion, especially for the subject matter we're talking here this evening. So I was really getting into it. I was getting hyped up, listening in, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be a good one for the books. So I'm glad to be here. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Hope everyone's being safe and living life.
Man, we're glad to have you. It's a pleasure to have you. Like I told everybody, the show that we done together, we had a really good interview. We spoke about a lot of important things, and I'm still just trying to learn. I'm just trying to figure it out and try to put the puzzle pieces together to see where it really all goes. And sometimes you think you're getting somewhere, and it's like a little 5-year-old runs by and runs his hand across the table, and you start all over. So.
Oh yeah, been there, done that. Trial and error.
So you got some things going on first. I was going to let you tell everybody about what you got going on, how to find you, who you are, and what you're about, and everything. Man, go ahead and put it out there so everybody can find you.
Well, welcome everybody. My name is Christopher Cyrus. I am an actor, producer, director, writer, and currently a show host of the Venomous Fringe. I also have another channel called Seguidor X, discussing entertainment storytelling, as well as also in general encounters and other forms of story content, with disclaimer, of course. And following through, as I mentioned, as a director, I'm a writer. I've engaged in several projects independently. I'm working on some projects right now as we speak. And currently, as of right now, as a writer, I'm working currently on a novel, and then I'll be releasing that sometime this year. And then also a graphic novel, an illustration novel, because I'm also a graphic designer as well. So multimedia and all the other engagement in fine arts. So there's a lot of stuff going on in that measure. We got 2 short films coming out between June and October. Those are the dates. Those are the months, the hidden dates for what we want to hit. And then we'll be concluding that with a full feature-length production. And that'll start immediately around November, December. So currently, right now, those are the big projects and what we're working on. And of course, cryptozoologist and paranormal investigator as well. I was actually in the field for quite a while, from 2016 to 2020, left and came back around 2024. And since then, just been doing more private, independent discussions, as well as also not as crazy big shows, but shows, people I want to bring on who I know are very passionate and have the right resources as investigators, and of course those who understand why we're doing the things we do in the first place. So yeah, that's basically my little event of background right there. And of course, for those who want to find me, you can always find me on Facebook, Christopher Cyrus. The best way you can find me is, you see the red background I have right here. If you see that in the background with my hands crossed, that's me. So that's the best way you can get a hold of me. You can find us on TikTok at the official Venomous Fringe. I'm proud of myself because we hit around over about close to 120 followers. We actually were banned from TikTok originally. We actually lost our account because we were that extreme with content, and we were doing pretty good. And then we recently rebooted the TikTok about a few weeks ago. So it's been a minute. So I'm proud of myself to get that back into place. And at the end of the day, whether it's the views or the follows, as long as I'm doing something I'm passionate about, in this case, in cryptozoology, paranormal, this is exactly why I'm here. And that's all that counts too. I'm glad to see the following. I'm glad when, people watch the show and they like what I do, and I appreciate that. I don't consider myself an expert. So, of course, at the end of the day, I am very easy to discuss and talk things with. You might see it. People see a face and they may think, oh, that person's mean, or that person, he looks angry, or he doesn't look like a good person, or the way he talks. But no, totally the exact opposite. It's all about building conversations and getting to know the person. But I digress. So yeah, You can find me on Facebook. We have the TikTok on the Venomous Fringe, and of course the Venomous Fringe YouTube, the Segador YouTube channel. You can find if you want to follow me on Twitter. I always call it Twitter. I know it's X, but I call it Twitter still. You can always find me at Segador X as well on there. I don't really promote a lot of the Venomous Fringe tags because I feel TikTok and YouTube are better for that kind of content. And of course, for Sega Dorax, it's a bit different. But at the end of the day, vice versa. For those who want to find me, and for those who want to engage too, again, those are the main places you can find me. Instagram, I'm on and off with Instagram. You can find me at Cyrusxide, 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 if you are interested. So yeah, that's where you can find me. But other than that, though, that's basically the rundown on what's going on here. I know tonight we got some cryptid discussions to talk about, which I'm looking forward to. And of course, any questions that the chat or you guys might have. I'm a very easygoing person. Like I always tell people, don't judge a book by its cover, judge it by its actions. And especially considering that we are in a very controversial field, that's very common. So, and Stephen, you and I know that. I know we've engaged multiple times about stuff like that. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's a lot going on this year. This last year, I was the year of resurrection for me. I had went through the trial and error of many things. So this year is the year of renaissance. I believe it's the year of getting things out there and making the impact. And I think it's for a lot of people too, even for you guys too, doing this channel and blowing up, being very successful. A lot of people tuning in and listening in and understanding the content. And that's a very big thing. And, like I told Stephen, I wish everyone here go far. This is a very, very interesting subject matter. And with the right people talking about it, then this subject matter will have a future and will have a success in wanting to do and provide what we want to do here as investigators, as enthusiasts, and of those who are in the belief of what we believe in. Of course, with different belief systems, but that's totally okay, as long as it's all about maturity and negotiation and understanding. But I'm digressing a little bit. I don't want to go too far off grid. I feel like I babble too much. So if I babble a little bit, my apologies. I don't want to babble. Tend to yap a lot.
No, you're good. You are good. I agree totally with you, and I'm excited that you came back, because a lot of good researchers and a lot of good investigators have left the field because of the you don't agree with me, so you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned as an investigator when I was working and as a supervisor and a field training officer, and eventually I was a captain, that if we all know the answer, then we're all going to be wrong at the same time. So we need to listen to everybody, because everybody has different ways of viewing things, and people are always going to see something that you don't see. And man, I've changed my mind 1,000 times in this field just by looking at stuff. I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't fit. So you have to go back, and then you have to, regroup and try to figure out, okay, why did that not fit? Where did it go? And it's interesting to me. And I think it would be a boring show if everybody believed exactly the same way. But like I said, I think that I don't know. I'm just glad that you're back. I've told people I was glad you're back. I like the way you do your show. I like the way you investigate, and I'm excited to know tonight is what got you started in all this. What was it that started your fascination or interest in this?
$1 million question. I think many people who are in this field who've been doing it for some time, there's always that origin story, as I tell people. So originally, my beginnings were totally enthusiast. I had been so intrigued by so many different TV shows, like In Search of, or Unsolved Mysteries, or Haunting, all those shows that aired back in the 2000s, and they were so successful. And of course, I know that most of that content had been around for ages. But for my time period, I was only 12 years old around the mid 2006. And I had picked up this book. It was on the top 15 most mysterious mythical creatures that you can find in the world. And I remember when I had picked the book up, and this was in elementary school. So as a fifth grader, you pick up that book and you're curious, because I didn't like to read, but I picked on things that I loved to read on. cryptid stuff, all the creepy things I loved, horror, all that. And I would pick up that book, and that book talked about various cryptids, whether it was about fairies, or if it was about Bigfoot, or if it was about dragons, all these different kind of creatures, and the Loch Ness monster. And it was there where I built more of an interest, because I love those reenactments they did on those TV shows, like In Search of or Unsolved Mysteries. But I advanced my thoughts on that, and then by that time, between 2007 to 2010, I took a break from everything. I wasn't really out of the loop with a lot of it. And then immediately around I got older, I got my diploma and everything, and that's when I just started wanting to look into more, because I had seen between 2010 to 2015 a huge gap of advancement when it's come to social media. We had Facebook groups and all these other various outlets now where people can talk about cryptids, Bigfoot, dogmen. They talk about all these other topics. And back in 2010, you still had those chat rooms and those forums. And that's the big change. And at that point, that's when I changed my perspective and interest with enthusiasm to wanting to be more of a researcher. And where I reside, I live on the East Coast. I'm in Jersey. So Jersey has often been controversial in cryptid world, because there's been between not a lot of Bigfoot or dogmen or other cryptid activity, but we know we have the Jersey Devil, but beliefs are beliefs on that as well. So, we often associate with those kind of cryptids in a certain fashion and a certain way and a certain direction. And that was kind of where I built my foundation, was going through a lot of the state parks in the state of Jersey and reviewing a lot of the grounds, and then reviewing notes that were taken from various websites like the Bigfoot Field Research Organization. And then, of course, taking a look at a lot of chat rooms and a lot of other sighting documented places. It wasn't before long before I decided to want to make it a podcast. And I originally did Cryptonormal X before the Venomous Fringe. And I basically went out and talked to a variety of different people and told them, hey, I'm a researcher interested in wanting to bring you on, talk about your experiences. And I was wondering, would you be open to it? And immediately I had a lot of people want to do it. And a lot of people talked a lot about their stories and a lot of their encounters. And I had taken psychology in school, and psychology is such a big thing you need in a field like this. And everybody I talked to and everybody I spoke to, and easily I can tell if they were deceptive or not, they came out genuine with a lot of their discussion. Those who were taking a minute to pause when they were having a small tick in regard to when they were reciting their experience, because it was traumatic to them. It was traumatic. Um, that also sparked a lot of debate, but I looked at everyone who I've talked to and brought on, and I've always thought they were genuine. They had mattered. I can always tell when somebody is making something up, and I won't do it on air. I'll do it behind the scenes. And being a podcast, being a show host, hosting a podcast, and then doing research, it's tough. And even for me, like in recent years, I took a break. I did private investigations. I didn't find nothing, unfortunately, but I definitely came out with more wisdom than I did come out with answers. And I think that may be sometimes what needs to be in a field like this, because I feel if we had all those answers, I feel it would be a boring field. It would be almost pointless to do it. We might have disclosure and declassification on UFOs as of right now. But imagine the declassification of Bigfoot and the declassification of dog.
Yeah.
They choose to do it in our lifetime, and they choose to make that a reality. Those are the big heavy hitters right there that make me wonder as a human being. And that's why I wanted to do this kind of content, was to open up and discuss, because I also had people who've come to me who I've known personally who've seen these things, and they don't know what they were. It scared them. And one of them, unfortunately, had passed away. But in their final moments, they were telling me, they were like, it was it's so I hope one day you can find the answer to what I had seen, because I sure as hell don't know what I had seen. And I don't want to see it ever again, even in another life. And that's something that really stuck to me. So, yeah, long answer to a very, very $1 million easy question, right? That's
No,
basically
I mean,
so that's how it all started for me, man.
that's kind of, exactly how I feel is, exactly what you're saying. You working as a private investigator. I was an investigator for 12 years. I was over many cases, anything from, rape, assault to whatever. And you learn eventually, like you said, people's ticks, they won't all be the same, but they'll be close. They will resemble, I guess, certain aspects of a story. And, you know, I'm kind of like you. I want to know not just what it is, where it came from. Why is it there? Why does it do what it does? Why does it pick one person? Why not anybody? Why is this child left alive? Why is this child not? What is it's just, I like to go deep into it and try to find out what makes it work. Why does it do that? What is the reasoning? And like you said, people been afraid. Man, it used to scare me so bad when I was little. I would cry. I mean, we was at Granny's house. I would cry, and I hated to be there at dark. I would, Mom, Dad, can we leave before dark? I don't want to be there at dark. And they'd be like, well, we'll leave. And if they didn't, Dad would be like, I'll carry you. And I hated it down there. It's not. A lot of people make this out to be this fun thing that to me it wasn't fun. To me it was, I wanted it gone. I wanted to go to Granny's and it not be there. And as I got older, then a little anger came. Why are you bothering my grandma? Why do you keep doing this? You start, and then you're like, you want to get rid of it, but then comes the investigative part. What are you getting rid of? You got to know where it comes from to get rid of it. You got to know what it is to get rid of it, and then you start looking deeper and deeper and deeper. So what was some of your favorite encounters or your favorite things that you found out while you've been doing what you do?
So, one of the reasons why I wanted to advance in research was because I had an individual, a friend of mine. He unfortunately is no longer here to tell his story, but he actually was at my house one night, and I had been doing some LBL research a little bit at the time. This was 2016, so around the 2015, 2016 margin. And I had an individual come out, and he was talking to me, and his behavior was different for quite a while. His behavior was very different. And it wasn't until one night I had an image of the LBL sketch of the beast, or proposal of the beast. And it wasn't until then he was like, "Oh my God, that thing is massive. That thing's scary." And then he was reminded immediately of an encounter, an experience that occurred to him. And that was when he had told me what he had seen. And basically, what happened was that him and his buddy were in the Wharton State Forest in New Jersey. And where they were in a deeper portion of the woods where you would go through one trail, it would take you to a set of trails, and then following through that trail would bend you out to a deeper part of the forest or take you back to a specific campground. Immediately, he and his buddy were in this deeper part, and they were out having a couple beers, talking, and then immediately heard ruffle in the wood line going north. They had searchlights, so they were pretty good, and they had a lantern as well. And then immediately he went ahead with his buddy, goes and takes a look through the sides, and was hearing rustling, and then hearing some form of snarling. First, they thought it was a boar or some sort of pig. Immediately, they turn their head and they look close, and they see in the line of the margin between the wood line and bush this figure crouched down with pointy ears looking at them and snarling. And the way it looked at them almost came off like it was demonic, or I'd say for a word, very abnormal. Not to put in a pun to the show, it's literally what he said to me. It was abnormal
Right.
because it didn't look like a normal animal you see. It didn't look like a bear. It didn't look like a deer. It definitely did not look anything like an insect or any form of small animal that might have been in the woods. And he was 120% certain that what he saw that night was definitely not a normal bear or anything that was like a mountain lion. He described the features of his pointy ears looked like a wolf, and it looked like it was eating something because it looked like it had blood between its teeth. And then immediately, he and his buddy got out and ran out, and they ran to the truck. They left all their belongings behind and they got out. They didn't bother to come back to the campsite because the belongings weren't really anything valuable. They took what they can take, but they didn't choose to come back. They left it like that because they were scared, and I understand why. And then when he came back and told me what happened years a little while after that, and he was emotional about it, I was like, okay, so there's definitely something there. We went back to this campsite. This was actually about a couple years later, so this was in 2017. And we went out and we looked and we took a good dive of the area. We looked around about maybe about close to about 3/4 of a mile, looking in all the vicinity, trying to find some sort of clue or maybe if there's something else there. And I was getting a little anxiety myself. I had gotten a little sick at the time. He, on the other hand, was spooked and afraid, and went back to the site where he seen it. His first reaction was like, I don't like being around here. I get very uncomfortable. So that experience really lived with him, and he moved to a different state. And like I told you, he unfortunately passed away just recently. But at the end of the day, I know that one of the things he told me was like, hey, if you ever find whatever that thing was, I hope you can just tell me from above, man. And I said, yeah, I mean, you never may know. Maybe we'll find something. Maybe we'll find some form of answer between now and 2035. Who knows? There's always something for change. Right. And that was one dogman encounter. Another encounter I had collected from a woman. This one was very interesting. This happened in Georgia. And she was going on a trail walk, and she discovered a deer carcass, completely ripped in half, totally disemboweled. And she figured that there was some animal out and about, and she kept passing through the trail. And then following through the trail, she came in about and noticed that the thing that made that disembowelment to the deer was at a creek, and it was about 8 feet, 9 feet tall, she said. And it was sitting there finishing up the ruined remains of another animal as it was by the creek and munching on it. And she was only about 150 feet away. So she was freaked out of her mind and spooked like anybody would be. And then following through, she was in just a state of shock, didn't looked very freaked out. Wasn't until she moved a bit and the creature turned 60-degree angle and then immediately dropped the meat it was munching on and then finalizing and went ahead and stood up. Very tall, very tall. And that's when she booked it because she feared and thought that that would be something that could possibly hurt her, harm her, and totally understood. And then the next few days go by, she goes ahead and she walks through the woods once more. Maybe she might find it, maybe she won't. Instead, she comes and she finds and sees a pile from a specific oak tree from one of the trails showing teeth. And the teeth she picks up, and then following through with that teeth, she goes and she takes the teeth and moves ahead and takes them with her, puts it in her pocket or whatever. She didn't know why. She just took it. Then following through with that, she went ahead and she only lived about, I'd say, 10 miles away from this part of where she was at. And then following with that, she goes ahead and she goes to bed. She's about ready to brush her teeth, and all of a sudden she looks through her blind window at her bedroom. There's this creature standing right there, staring right at her, looking at her. And it's got pointy ears, looks like a wolf, looked like the exact same creature she saw earlier. And then finalizing, she goes ahead and she starts closing windows, and then after clawing the blinds, pulling them, she'll go back to her window last. Creature ain't there. But she closes and twirls and closes. Goes to bed immediately afterwards, and a couple hours go by, scratching coming from the outside. It was determined that the reason this creature did it was because she took something from them that was very sacred. I believe it was. Why else would a creature nearly 10 miles out of its reach follow you like that? That makes no sense. These creatures are very intelligent, but there's a reason why this doesn't happen. So afterwards, she reached out to me and she was upset, crying. We were on the phone for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and she was highly religious. And I said, "You should pray. Pray right now. Pray that this force leave you be tonight, and that when you wake up tomorrow, the first thing you'll do is take those teeth and return it back to where they belong." She went back and returned the teeth, and never again was there an experience. But I look at it from two different perspectives, because I see it from one end that this creature followed her because she took something from him, and it was something from a deceased one if need, or something they were infatuated with. The other creature was unfortunately a younger one and took challenge to such a specimen. I've heard cases where they followed people. There's a reason why, there's a trail to them. Why, of course, would they do it what they do? Don also mentions about the tactical and calculating quick learners. Yes, I do think that that is something that is big with them. They'll do whatever it takes to make sure that they prove their point. And that's Dogman. Those are some of the more interesting Dogman cases. Of course, I can go on with them, but I don't want to bore nobody with anything, genuinely. But I will say,
You actually you blew my mind on a few things that you said, and that's what I find most interesting whenever I interview or talk to you, is because you hit so many things that I have witnessed and even spoke about at the beginning when I first even started recording, because I was talking about these things. And I know you haven't watched my first shows, so when you say these things, it really, like, I had a friend one time I was out with. He was a deputy sheriff.
mhm,
We were walking along the lake, and while we're walking along the lake, he is a napper. He made arrow tips and blades and stuff, and he would go down and pick up rocks and glass, whatever he could find. There was a bone, and this bone that he found, he was sure that it was not a typical animal, but he said it was a femur, which resembled what he thought would be a human, but it was too large to be a human. So he dug it out of the ground, and he brought it home and he put it on his front porch. Well, his front porch was half wood, and then it was screen. And he went to bed that night, and whenever he went to bed that night, he had a air conditioning window unit in his bedroom. And this is a deputy sheriff. He says he starts hearing growling and scratching and stuff. And he does live in town, but he lives on the last road in our very, very small town of like 3 blocks by 3 blocks. That's connected to a cornfield that goes to the woods. So really, he's on the edge. Whatever this is, it comes up, does the growling and everything, and it tries to pull his air conditioning unit out of his window. Underneath his bed, he has his hunting rifle, his 30-30. He grabs his 30-30. He's so afraid, and he shoots through his wall. And he ended up calling me and my dad, and we ended up going up after this happened. But his front porch, it was ripped open, and that bone was gone.
Wow.
and you think, what kind of creature would make such a noise and an impact like that? And you would think it can't be a bodybuilder. You could be used
Right.
up to the core, but it doesn't change the nature. These things are strong, and they will do things that make the normal human being make what? Why? Very interesting case, too.
The question I have, and I'll always have until I answer it, and I will, and this is my main thing that got me investigating, and you may know more about this than I do. At my granny's, where I went through all of this, one of the main questions I get from a lot of people whenever I talk about it, they say, how long did it go on there? Was it always there? And the answer is no, it didn't always happen there. What happened was, my granny and grandpa bought that place from a family that we know and grew up with. I live in a small community. Everybody knows everybody. So they bought it back in, I think it was the 50s. Well, it never started coming around until my uncle came back from Vietnam, and he was dating his now wife. And they would go down about 10, 12 miles to the river bottoms, and they would all sit down there with their friends to get scared, and scare the girls. And one particular night, something jumped on the car, ran off the top of the car. They drove home that night. The breathing, the scratching on the windows, the beating, it all started that night. The next morning, when he went out to get his car to go to work, it's covered in fish scales, he said, stunk to high heaven, and he liked to never got it washed off. From that night forward, that's when everything progressed at my granny's up until my granny had a stroke. There's 8 kids. They took turns staying with her, taking care of her. And then whenever she passed away and the kids weren't going down there, which my cousin lives on that property now alone. She lives there alone. It's gone. It just stopped. So.
And when that experience occurred, the overall reaction for its time was one of which that came with unbellingness and one of which wonder what is really going on. And I think when you shared that experience too, that there was a calling for it, why that happened, why it happened the way it did. But it's in cases like that where I think that there's more energy that some things might have that we might even think about. And I think that's something we're still learning as researchers. I know that's an answer I definitely don't have about why would something do something of that nature the way it does. And I come back and think. And I would rather tell people I don't have an answer to it. I don't know why, than sit there and try to find an answer to it and say, okay, because it's not going to always make sense. That to me, even if that happened to me, I'd have a million questions thrown through my head. What was that? What happened there? So that's a very scary tale, man. I mean, I remember you were sharing some of that too when we were talking through our interview, and I was like, man, that's nuts about what was experienced at your granny's
Yeah,
house.
it was just always, everybody always wondered, why, even if it followed him back that night, why did it stay so long? And it progressed. It actually, and this is where, it confuses me also, because it went from a physical occurrence. I'm not even going to say cryptid because I don't know what it was. I didn't see it back then. So I'm going to say it went from something physical that was messing around the home to paranormal / supernatural events would happen alongside. It just progressed. And it wasn't always the same thing they saw, and it wasn't always the same noise. It was always, you never knew, but mom, she had told me you could always count on in the summertime, it would be there 8 o'clock. You could count on it. It'd be there at 8 o'clock. And in the winter time, when it got darker, sooner, it would show up sooner. So it's like whatever it was, it never migrated. It was always around. It followed the darkness. It would change its routine. Or some people theory, and I don't, some people speculate, they say, well, maybe because it took it longer to get there, because in the fall, the leaves and stuff fall, the foliage, isn't green. So it has to go deeper into the woods to hide. And it's a longer, trail to your granny's. Maybe that's why it took it longer.
It is pretty interesting, especially speculation about what it could have been, what happened, and why it did what it did. And that's how I feel about some cases in Bigfoot, and even in cases with dogmen or paranormal. I know I've had cases where people have had houses that would have strange poltergeists and then have entities and facades of strange anomaly come around, and then immediately at a certain time, and it go on for hours until a certain hour and then stop, and then do the same thing every night. And then that part of that really makes you think, like, what is malevolent so much enough to want to do that? And then these were cases too where people were getting scratched, people were getting attacked, bruises out of the midst of the night, people getting flung from stairs. And we're talking 12 or 13 steps. So that's a very frightening thought, and one of which where you think, is your life in any form of danger, or am I safe to even live in this household when there's things like that? And even with cryptid stuff, I've often looked at it too, where it's like if your gut instinct is telling you things, don't do it. Go and do what you got to do to survive. And that reminded me of a case I had of three friends who just graduated college. They went out on a big camping experience up in Sussex County, and they were out there. They were doing typical stuff, man. They were in their mid-20s. They were drinking. They were fishing. They were playing. They were doing anything they could. They were in there on the environment. They go ahead. They get ready to eat, hang out the night. All they hear is just a variety of different growls, a variety of different things running around the area, tree knocking, vocalizations, the whoop, whoop, whoop type noises. Immediately, they think nothing out of the ordinary. They grew up around hunters. They grew up around people who knew this kind of stuff. They go into their tents. It's around 11:30 at night, on and off the whole night. You just hear all these noises. You hear screaming. You hear banging. You hear things being thrown around the campsite. And it wasn't until later in the night, around 1 o'clock, where these things come about. And there's two of them. They believe that there was two of them. And you can hear stomp, 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 and coming in. And they immediately are looking through the campsite. And they're sniffing around. And one guy mentioned, he said, you can physically hear them move the tent. And then they're always flipping. They're moving something around. They tried to get in it. And when I was talking to them, because we went back to that site, I had told them, I looked around, and this place was so wooded and secluded that you would even think that you can have a serial killer have this as a dumping ground for bodies. And then immediately we showcase and finalizing where we were at. I looked at it so badly, and I thought, oh my goodness, because they're right next to a creek. There's a bunch of deer. They're in a high valued resources. There's berries growing from the bottom above the ground. So whatever was there wanted them out there, and they were going to do whatever it took. They ended up leaving at 3:30 because they realized that whatever was there was really, really not happy with them. They ended up getting up and leaving. They took their belongings, and then when they were getting ready to leave, they had gotten to the vehicle, and they had seen two of them on a tree line going right, and then finalizing, moving on the other side. They were peeking their bodies down, almost like it was trying to tell them, hey, we know who you are. And I know I kind of riff-raffed between the paranormal experiences and the cryptid, but it just took me back to that one experience that I thought of, because these things were playing with them very good. And I was really impressed with a lot of what they described, the tree knocking. We looked at a few of the trees around the area. They looked like they were torn. We looked at a couple of abandoned structures. They looked decrepit. Looked like there was something there. Something was moving things around in the area. There's a high population of homeless people that are there too. It just depends on what was there. I don't think it was homeless people, because they even described trees. And when I was looking at some of these trees, you can see, unless someone physically is abnormal to pain, no pun intended, they are not punching in through a tree like that. That's going to be your result right there. So that's very freaky. But yeah, that was one story I wanted to also share, because that was something of where when you see these kind of things, if you don't know anything about them, then you're in for a show. But you also got to be careful, because some of these creatures, they don't care. If they want to rip apart your tent, they'll do it. And honestly, I always tell people, if you're going into the woods, you go in there with protection. I don't care what it is. I don't know if you have to, use sage, if you have to do a blessing, if you need to actually bring a physical weapon, do what you have to do. But I often also, too, one of the things they brought out to me that was scary, too, is the fact that they were freaked because they had a high intake of food resources that were raw. And when you're putting raw minerals in an environment like that, you could be attracting more than just Bigfoots and dogmen. So, yeah, no. Definitely one of which I wanted to throw out to you guys, because that's definitely one for the books. One that I've collected, one of I've also talked to, and I'm in good contact with those guys to this day. So, if I reach out to them again and say, "Hey, you ever want to share that experience?" I have them guys reach out to you, because that's something that I think would be very interesting to tell. They were there going through it, and they were telling me this, and they were describing it. And when they were showing me the tents too, they were showing me how the one seal on top was a little bent. They believe that that was the one tent that the creature tried to bend through, that made it out to be like that. So, oh yeah.
Interesting.
Growing up, all the older guys, in my small town, all of us kids, we the woods was our playground.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things, you mentioned, always take protection, always be protected. And they would always tell us, don't go down there without a way to defend yourself. And then it's like the main thing that they really always pushed on us, always, if you're down there in the dark, have a fire. It's like a fire was so important to them that if you had a fire and you stayed by the fire, that you were going to be okay. They were like, now they might circle the fire, they might make noises at you, they might throw some sticks or something, but if you got a fire, you're going to be okay. So we always thought, okay, we got a fire, so we're good.
If you can build a pretty good fire, nothing's going to stop it. You sit there, get yourself protected, safe. And honestly, survival instincts, if you can do a fire, you can survive anything. Of course, though, I would not always encourage people going up a tree, because like bear, these things can easily go up a tree, no problem. I've seen footage of bears going up trees, and I'm freaked. I'm like, oh my God. Like, that thing only is in there 2 or 3 seconds later to the tree perch, and it can easily get you. And I think, wow. And I got a lot of black bear by me. Where I live and where I'm at in Jersey, I actually am by a wooded area. So I got a lot of black bear that come through.
Oh.
Around this time now, I'm going into April, I'll start seeing them peer through. And I'll be thinking, man, I'd hate to be in a tree looking right at you as you come in. Charge.
So have you ever had a hitchhiker effect? Have you ever had anything come home with you whenever you've done research?
Just toxic people.
Yeah. Yeah. They're the hardest. They're the hardest to get rid of.
You're right.
I need to call an exorcist almost every week. I'm telling you, like I sit there and I tell my pastor, I'm like, hey, I got a problem. I have a guy. I need you to bless me and everything. Honestly, Mike, it's a very good question, because I've had people have things carry with them demonically, and that was through paranormal experience. I've had people who were in areas they shouldn't have been. I had a buddy of mine do urban exploring once, and he was in an area that he reportedly, with another buddy of mine, seen this woman in a white dress, and it was coming peering near them. He turned around and saw it again, almost like it was coming at him. And then he left the scene with my buddies, and then about a few weeks later, the posters in his room were coming down, and that there was glass being thrown in the house without no one moving it. And then there was also the ceiling fan would easily start moving at a fast pace. And it was very, very strange. And immediately he called he called his grandmother up and went into this whole dialogue of, we need to do this, we need to do that. So they did a chicken ritual, South American culture. I don't know the full thing of it, but it immediately, they did that little seance kind of thing, and then finalizing it, they blessed him and exorcised it, and immediately this spiritual presence left. I had a woman in Texas who also had demonic energy follow her and follow her back home. She was in an abandoned asylum, urban exploring with friends, ironically another urban exploring case. But this one was very physical. She got home, and then immediately she went to take a shower, got out of the shower, looks through a mirror, and then instantly she sees the shower curtain move. And she turned around. I was thinking, what was that? And then following through with that, thing moved, and then she shuts it. Didn't think too much of it. She actually surprisingly didn't think. She was so exhausted. And then she goes to bed, wakes up the next morning with 2 scratches on her back. And then this thing eventually it got really bad to the point where she would be in her room and then all of a sudden the drawer opened and the drawer would fly open. And they got to a point where the other drawers began to fly open. And then the last and most biggest part of it that really let everything go bad was when her mother got sick, got very sick, and her mother unfortunately passed away. And she believed that whatever this presence was that was impacting her house was the reason why that happened. And then that's when she sought a form of counseling through the church. She actually had to wait a month before there was an actual priest who got in charge of the case and reviewed everything. But when they reviewed it, they got to the house and they were blessing everything. The activity kept going. After that first incident, they had a basement, and in the basement, there was a bunch of water leaking all of a sudden one day. The water leaked, followed through, and then bursted completely, destroying the entirety and then causing a massive flood within her basement. And then she spoke to another exorciser, and then that's when they figured that there was some form of evil energy that was coming through these horizons. And this energy, they had to find a source to it. They find, and when she said that she had done explorations in hospitals with friends and stuff, they put 2 and 2 together. They had thought that this energy was actually the asylum or somebody from it. They were coming out to retaliate and that they were following her, or they were attracted to her in some matter. And then after finalizing with that, they went ahead, they went in, they immediately did another exorcism, and then she left the household. And the house ended up getting condemned, and then they ended up getting destroyed. And she never had any experiences ever again, which was weird. She still cites the passing of her mother, though, as a source of she passed away, and there's some sort of connection to that. When she spoke to a medium about it, there was discussion about how her heart and her mother's heart had, because her mother's passing actually was a mixture of having heart failure and then also too having a seizure. And she was previously ill, having fatigue. So I looked at that case as one of which, as much of like many New Jersey cases that involve paranormal, I would probably think that there is something evil, something far more evil. We actually find out that the asylum that she was at, that there was also the work of satanic ritual. That was also at one of the parts of the lot where there was a permagram, and that there was people, well, not people there, but that there was obviously people in previous year that were there, and they were doing all these satanic quotes and all these different symbols. And she was in that room, so we've all interpreted that because she was there in some capacity with that, or something carried on because she did something or said something. And that's an answer I'll never have. But it was scary. And that was just, 2 cases that I always felt they were hit close to home, and they were always related to something following. Because, like I tell people, if it's not someone toxic that you have in your life that's following you with stuff, it's definitely something abnormal. And I hate that. I just want to say it again, no pun intended. It's such a powerful word. It's a strong word you have to use. It should be embedded in everybody's head. It's like 100 words you should know a week.
Well,
But
again, you it's like you read my mind again. We went on a investigation. Me and my sister were out in the woods, and she says, "Mike, there's a lady standing out there in a dress." And I'm like, "I don't see her." And she's like, "Mike, she's right there." And my sister's like freaking out. She's like, "He's right there." And I don't see nothing. All I see is trees. I'm like, "I don't see anything." And she's like, "He's right there. She's walking at us." And I'm like, "Okay." So I take the night vision IR off of me, and I'm like, here, you see her, you take a picture of her because I don't see her. So she takes a few pictures. Lo and behold, we get home, pull off the photographs. We done a show on it, and there's a lady in a dress out there. And then you're talking about this house that was haunted where this lady was hurt. The 15th, I'm interviewing a lady. She is going through a lot of what you just said. She actually got her pelvic bone broke by this thing. It has scratched her. It's attacked her dog. She believes might have been a part in taking her husband the night she prayed. She's going through straight hell right now. I mean, some of the things that she's going through is absolutely terrifying, because I can't imagine something, her friend was even at the house, and she said her friend saw, like, on her back when she was walking, like a hand that, like, pushed on her shirt that pushed her down, that resulted in a broken pelvic bone. So, I mean, these things can hurt you.
I've never went into a paranormal investigation ever once and thought to myself, yeah, there's something that's going to come out of here that's not going to come out and do something when something has had to happen. And I've also worked with a variety of different intelligent and wonderful female researchers who've had horrible experiences in those kind of places, and they've researched and looked at, and even males too, guys, both men and women, both, they've all come out and they've either been touched inappropriately or they've been attacked, thrown, scratched. I've never had nothing. And there's wood I'm knocking on as we speak because you never may know. I can have something throw me right next to a broken window and I can just cut myself up easily. Like these are people, and this is kind of something that, like, and this is why I really love you guys a lot with what you do, because you're not just going out there and you're sharing experiences and telling these things. You're also bringing these things here to light because you're addressing the notion of importance of what we're here for. And it's not just about telling encounters. It's about trying to find answer to what these things are with the right resources. Because, Mike, as you know, we've went through our ringer with good and bad and the ugly in the cryptid community. And I'm sure, Jesse and Randy, you've experienced similar situations as well. And
Yeah.
and as we've learned as adults, mature adults, because like I tell people, I'm old enough to be somebody's grandson. I'm old enough to be somebody's son, literally. And the fact that I have more intelligence and maturity than people who do those kind of negative things is scary to me, because it's like, wow. I mean, it makes me look good because I'm young enough to be mature enough. But I see this so commonly that we're so impacted by so many different experiences. And that's why I always respect what you guys do. And granted, I may not always reach out in a way, which I'm being fairly honest with, I'll take accountability for. I do that with a lot of cryptid, a lot of people I've built connections with in this field, and cryptid and paranormal. But I know that at the end of the day, the real content and the one that has all the right resources and will direct people in the right way are the same people that I keep connection with, I subscribe to, that I keep a friendly basis with. Yeah. A couple weeks ago, I talked personally on me wanting to continue the show and do the show. I still have my interest, and of course, going through my trial and error on certain things. But I openly understand the conflict with this kind of content and the situation of this. It's not an easy field. It's a very complicated and, dare I say, toxic field.
100%.
And we deserve, and trust me, I know you guys have been through the ringer with stuff, and that's why, for me, even I vented my situation prior a few weeks ago about some things, and that's, now we're on a new week, new threshold, and the importance is to prevail and continue to prevail in doing what we do here. I am not a magician. I wish if I was. I think life would be very nice, especially for many, if magic was very much so not an illusion. But I will say that for what we do and what you guys do, I have a lot of respect for. I really appreciate what you guys do, and you have a supporter for life here on the Venomous Fringe, and also too for all other projects outside. Because at the end of the day, And also too, extra brownie points because I see a bunch of kitties. And I got some Maine Coons at home, so the Maine Coon
wow.
kitties. They got meow, meow, meow.
Oh yeah.
So,
No,
Well,
I
and
appreciate
cat,
what you say and what you do also. And and I know you're going to understand as an investigator. You're an investigator. You'll understand this. I took it whenever I went through what I was going through and still going through what I'm going through. And I was talking to one of my buddies. He's still a detective over a couple of counties, and we were talking. And he said, "What have you learned from it?" Because he said he trained me, and he said you always need to learn something no matter what you go through. He said, "What have you learned from it?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Think about it. If you're trying to unravel evil, is evil not going to use its resources to try to cover up the truth? You're battling evil on a spiritual and a physical plane. And whenever you try to out it in the spiritual plane, it's going to use its physical contacts it has to try to shut you down, discredit you, deceive you, and destroy you. So if you're getting attacked, it just means you're doing something right."
Negative publicity is often good,
Yeah.
even if it's just a
Definitely.
troll. Somebody who would dedicate their life to typing on a keyboard to express their opinion. And then there's you succeeding with not only building a connection with people and along with also backup with amazing crew, but you also prevail in the aspect because of a high intelligence. You've been through this multiple times. You've been on this planet longer than me, and you've known a long thing, a basis of what a lot of these things are, what you've went through your own. I mean, I don't think any of us would be here, to be honest with you, if we didn't have an experience or we didn't have that kind of encounter with something, even if we necessarily weren't the ones of the main of the encounter. I've learned to treat others the way they treat me. And I also have learned that in this field, when I talk to people, I will give everybody an open chance. You can tell me that you are religious, you think these things are demons. And even though that I might have a difference of opinion on that, I'm not going to sit there and tell you that I don't agree with you. I hate that opinion. I think that's dumb. I think you're ridiculous for thinking that, because that doesn't get you far. That's just nothing but rude. That's also just being egotistical, and you're also demoralizing somebody's inner thoughts and opinion. Yeah, you can explain to them that you don't agree with things. And I wish that this field did this a lot more often. I wish we were able to be more compatible with feeling, because when I speak to a lot of adults who are into that belief system and they follow one man belief on things, I think that that's very wrong, because I, at one point when I was much younger, and just to give you an idea, my high school reunion papers just got in the mail. So just to give you a little bit of a hint, yeah, when I was in my early 20s, I was slamming. I was just telling people, you're, FOS for this, GFY to that. And I said, listen, after I took after like 2019, 2020, I said, that's not the right way to doing research. It's not the right way of being a person. I want to treat people. It's okay if I open the door and you don't say thank you to me because I opened the door for you. Or if I say have a good day and you don't say nothing in return, that's okay, because I get it. If you're in retail, forget it. I used to do retail, so I know how that feels. But
Right.
I digress. I'm just honored to be back talking with people who have not just the heart and passion for this stuff, but also that have a well understanding ground, and they're not out to get you. Like, I'll tell you what, Steven, before I talked to you, I didn't really know a lot of things in the field, coming back into some stuff. And then, of course, I met Jessica, Randy, and then everybody else coming through. And then we did the interview on Venomous Fringe. And, it was a very fun experience, man. And, even then, like, I was even talking to other people and I was saying, this is a very, very interesting connection. It's almost like the foreground I enlisted from 2018 to 2019. And now everybody else who's coming into this is now makeshifting it. And that's what it comes down to. I want this show to succeed. I mean, I can have my show, even though it's been around since 2018, because I took such a long break. That show may never pick its feet back up, but at least if I still produce content, showcase my passion for this, then I know that I'm doing something right. And I don't, at the end of the day, yeah, I can sit here and say, oh, I wanted, this amount of views for this or that. And yeah, that is what it is. That's life. Things happen. It's a matter of how you promote and do things. And maybe it's also about strategy too. And that was where I stood with things. With stuff we're doing here, man, I got to be honest. Everything that we've done and talked about is just brilliant. It's very brilliant. And I hope you guys keep it up with the hard work with this stuff. This is just amazing. And I hope the audience too, they learn a thing or two about every guest that comes on. And if you have people in the right direction that are here steering it and understanding it, you'll be fine for life. Don't let those negative naysayers come into your life and allow that, because that right there is nothing but demonic energy. And I'm very respectful nowadays. I won't tell you how I feel over the phone. Oh no, let me rephrase that. Through a keyboard. Because keyboards, like, I guess, are like armor now for some keyboard warriors in the shining armor, I say. But in person, it's a totally different ballgame. Yeah. I've confronted people in person about certain things. Doesn't have to be cryptid related, but I told them straight up. And I said, listen, man, I'm not going to fight you. I'm just going to tell you exactly how I feel. And if you don't like it, okay, that's fine. You're the one, if you throw the first punch, though, you damn well know I'm coming back swinging. And that's just how it is. Yep. That's life. I don't care. I'll take accountability for that. I am a man of God. I don't put violence first. I put my faith. I put my beliefs. I work, my family. And, of course, and amen to that, Belinda. I, as a single individual living in a very independent life with a lot of projects and opportunity, that's what I just want to continue. And even with cryptid stuff, I have a book on cryptid material that I'll be releasing right before I turn 30 next year. Look at that. I gave it away. And afterwards, I have a very high passion for this stuff coming into it again. And I will be, and of course, you guys are always more than welcome to be a part of that experience, to do the show, even on Venomous Fringe, or even outside of that. There's a lot of different things that are done and made about. And I'm just honored. I'm happy. I'm glad that I was able to come and speak to you, Stephen, on open arms with so much of this. I'm happy. I met Jessica, I met Randy, all you guys. You guys are great. And, you got a very, very good thing here. I don't want to keep spinning in circles like a bicycle. I just want you guys to know you got my full support. And I respect a lot what you guys do. And I'm happy that I'm here tonight to do this show and talk the things all spooky, crazy, and interesting. And I hope the audience too, and enjoyed that as well. Because at the end of the day, if you're not steering through with some form of support, you're not doing it right. But I can tell you guys, and lady, you're doing it right.
I'm sure trying, man. I told everybody I just try to put it together like I did when I was working. Mm-hmm. I'm just preparing a case for court to try to show evidence, and let the subscribers be the jury. Let them decide what they want to believe, what they accept. Just put it out there in a form that they can understand it, and that they can break it down, and they can come to their own conclusions. And I always tell people, don't take my word for it. Go research it yourself. Don't just listen to somebody's words. Go make sure, that they're giving you the right information. And I hope and pray that you continue doing your channel, because I've got no doubt you're going to grab traction. You're going to pick back up. I'm going to continue to support you. You can post anytime in my Facebook group you need to promote anything, whatever. And I'm going to add you to my YouTube as a channel I support on the front of it, so people will see that, because I think you're doing great work. And I've even told Jesse many times, I said, I hope he continues, because we need more people like him in the field. And that's truly how I feel. I feel like you're not going to have any problems, man. I think that I think God will send you the people. You do the work, and he's going to send you the people.
Amen. And the same goes for you guys. And that's why I even had people from my show. I said, listen, you take a look at Abnormal Investigation. You look at what they're doing. These guys aren't just telling stories. These guys, they are discussing, they're breaking everything down. They're taking the time to not just engage with this audience that they have, they're also explaining everything thoroughly, and it's not throwing people into spins and tangled webs. Too many people get that way, and it's okay, because sometimes we need to learn certain things. But at the end of the day, too, what you guys have is amazing, and I appreciate the kind words. I will confirm on the abnormal on this episode here tonight that the Venomous Fringe will continue, and that the Venomous Fringe will be producing content between now and the unforeseeable future. We have a lot of interesting projects. I know that right now I'm working on some stuff that's mostly based with getting a lot of people on the show and sharing their experiences and showcasing things. And the Venomous Fringe, whilst it was dormant, it was underground for about a few years, we're now rising and resurrected, and we're doing what we could. And one of my things I want to give back, to those like you guys who have always been supportive, and also too very, very intelligent and mature for this field. And if we have more of us in this field will survive. I want to just take one shout out right now. There's a gentleman in this chat. His name is Lone Star Supernatural. That's someone I know personally. He's a good guy of mine. I've known him since 2017. He, despite all the crazy things I've been through, has always been there since day one. And and even when there's people that I knew that gave him problems, he was always supportive and there for me. We've had good conversations, and that heartfelt understanding goes to you guys as well. The more we build the rapport, the more we continue to do the right thing in this field, the more success we will have in this field. And that is what it comes down to. So I'm happy. And I hope I didn't babble too much. I tend to babble. That's the ADHD for you. That's part of the measure. That's part of the magic.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it because you can't get evidence or information if people don't talk. And like you said earlier, don't tell people you don't disagree with them, because that just shuts down conversation and your chance to gather more information. Listen to people, hear them out, see what they're experiencing, because if you aren't there, then you don't know.
Absolutely. And if before, of course, how you want to wrap up the show and do everything, I mean, how you want to go about that when that time comes, or if it's now or whatever, I just want to go ahead and just give some advice, just so the audience, people listening in, I'll keep myself on a timer, 60 seconds at least. Of course, for the audience out there who has listened to the show tonight, I hope that it was entertaining. I hope that you guys enjoyed everything, ladies and gentlemen. And the Venomous Fringe for the podcast, the show, you can always find on YouTube or on TikTok. You can also find us on Spreaker, Apple iTunes. Look up Apple Podcast. You'll find us right there. And like the mission here at Abnormal, we're here just to find the truth. The key words, boots on the ground. We want to find the answers. It's not just about bringing encounters to the table. It's about trying to find what we're out to find here. Bigfoot, Dogman, Pugwages, Mothman, the Goat Man, Lizard Man, me, if you catch me on a Sunday. But I'll tell you what, everybody here has a gift. Everybody here has a passion. Those who listen in and who have a belief with this, you too have a gift. And it's important as a community, we work together, we stay together, we work on this as a unit, and we continue to set an example for those out there who are negative and those who have no respect for those like us who have busted our butts multiple times to do the right thing. And I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Mike. I want to thank Jesse. I want to thank Randy. I want to thank the audience for taking this time tonight to listen to me, hear what I have to say, and going forward. That the Venomous Fringe has family, and Abnormal Investigations is part of the Venomous Fringe family, a part of our giant nation of a unity in this field that I want to create. Thank you again.
Thank you.
I couldn't have said it better, man. I couldn't have said it better. We appreciate you so much. And like I said, we stand with you. I have no doubt you're going to go big. No doubt, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep, boots on the ground, like you said. If you're not experiencing it, then all you're doing is talking about it. And you got to get out and you got to get your boots wet. And whenever I was an investigator, that was what my boss told me. He's like, I can sit here and show you the books all day, but until you go out there and you experience it for yourself, you don't know what's real. You don't know what makes what work. You have to get dirty. And I agree with that. You have to get out there.
Nothing wrong with getting a little mud on your face.
No,
football players can do it. Soccer players can do it. You can do it. Was that from that Stanley movie? You can do it, or was it a Schneider movie?
Yeah,
you can do it. Yeah, that's what's up.
That's it. You got to get out there. Chris,
Amen.
I kept you for over an hour, man.
That's fine.
I like to get. You're gonna have to come back, man. We're gonna have to do it again. We're gonna have to do it again.
We're gonna have to do another interview. You, me, Jesse, Mandy. We're gonna have to bring the whole crew on Venomous Fringe now. We're gonna have a big panel for this. We have to, and we'll make that happen. A little sneak peek for down the road, guys. Take a look pretty soon. A couple months. It's gonna happen. I won't tell you when it's gonna happen. It work out with these guys, but it will happen.
It'd be our pleasure, man.
Yeah.
Amen. No, thank you guys so much. Honestly, we can talk all night. I'm here anytime. You guys can always reach out to me. Seriously, and of course the audience. Thank you again. You guys have been amazing, and keep doing the right thing. Be pioneers, not deceptors.
Yep.
For sure. All right, man. I'm going to let you run so you can take off and do what you got to do, and you have a blessed rest of your night, man.
God bless everybody, and of course, I know, Steve, real quick, I know you mentioned that one case with that one individual going through. I'll keep them in my prayers as well. So, going forward and hoping that there is a positive clarity at the end of that, at the end of the day. But yeah, all right. Thank you guys so much. God bless. Stay safe, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. And from everyone here at the Venomous Fringe family, thank you again. And to the Normal family, it's been an honor.
Thank you, Chris. Good night.
Man. Been a pleasure. Good night.
Chris.
Night.
He done that so many times whenever we done that interview together. He had so many things that he had investigated and the information that he knew that just coincided with everything that I had found. It just literally blew my mind. It's because I knew that what he had found and what I had found, they resonated so well that okay, there is something going on here, because it don't happen like that. Two people do not have a creature do the same pattern.
Mm-hmm.
He does that all the time. He blows my mind on a lot of that. And I'm gonna let Jesse, you talk about what you thought about tonight. Randy, y'all a little quiet tonight. I know me and him tend to we like to ramble with each other, and I think that's just the investigator part of us. We like to kind of.
I enjoyed listening. I could have went another hour or two listening to his stories.
Yeah.
I couldn't question anything because it was just so fascinating. Wow, blown away.
Yeah. All of the different things that he was sharing and stuff, it raises so many more questions and makes me think of a bunch of other things too. Again, opens up more doors and more questions and different paths, down the rabbit hole. Amazing. I could listen to him, for another hour, 2 hours.
That's the way I am with him, and I think it's a little bit of camaraderie too. He's an investigator. I'm an investigator. I feel at home talking to him. It feels good because, I haven't worked in 10 years. And whenever I get a chance to talk to another investigator and, like he said, he's schooled in psychology. I had to take psychology whenever I went through my investigator's class. It's interesting, to see somebody, he's so young with so much knowledge. This guy is very intelligent. It's the first time I met him, it was obvious to me that he knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. And I was impressed. I really was. I don't think that he's going to have any trouble going anywhere in this field. I think he has plenty of knowledge. He has he's easy to talk to. He's a pleasant person. He's a God-fearing man, and I think he's an awesome guy. I really do. And I don't know about you guys, but did that not blow you away when he talked about the lady in the white dress, and whenever he started talking about the lady that had the thing in the house? Now, how did that hit you? That hit me hard.
I instantly went back to, yeah, exactly that scenario. That's exactly what I thought of too. Hmm. Just
Shivers.
way too
Yeah.
similar. Yeah.
Like what Randy said. Yeah, I mean, that is
Gave me goosebumps.
scary, man, to think, and we oh yeah, it did me too, because you think it's kind of like you read about something and you study something, but when it finally touches you, physically touches you, it becomes a whole different reality. It becomes real, I guess is the word I'm looking for. It becomes, wow, you're really there. I'm standing there. You're touching me, or in some people's cases, you're hurting me. I'm not going to say the name because I don't have permission right now, but I spoke to one of our moderators the other day, and oh my God, I had no idea she had been through what she's been through. We have a moderator that has went through a house that had attachments, and she witnessed a hat man fly in broad daylight over her outside. And there was some other things that happened to her I'm not going to go into unless she ever wants to come on and talk about it. I'd love to have her on to hear about it. But I mean, I'm sitting there asking her questions about the case we're going to have on the 15th. And then she starts giving me goosebumps from her experiences. So I was like, oh my God. But it just goes to show, Randy, them familiar spirits are everywhere. 1/3 of them fail. 1/3 of how many we don't know, but we know that even if it was 1,000,000,000, just 1/3 of those is a lot of them to be walking around amongst us, looking for that opening, right?
But Mike, remember, they're still outnumbered because the angels are 2/3 in their majority. So we shouldn't be scared of these things. Just, you got to trust God in this. If you get into fear of these things, they'll take advantage of you if you get scared of them. I know people who's been thrown downstairs, grabbed and dragged out of bed by these, whatever you want to call them. Whether, they really exist. People are having problems and they can't really reach out to get help because people will just think you're crazy and it's just your imagination, when that's not the reality.
Right.
That's why we're here trying to shine the light into the dark.
And if you think about it, guys, I mean, I thought about this too. Think how horrible this would be. This is a scenario. This does not involve anybody. This is totally a hypothetical situation that I'm going to talk about. Okay. There is no truth to this. It is hypothetical. If a person has an encounter that is considered, like he said, abnormal, and you take it to and I'm going to say a specialist or a professional, because I got my own opinion on these professionals that say they're professionals. I think they're, anyways, you take it to them, and they've only known your family for 6 hours or 8 hours or a year, and all of a sudden they're writing your life right down on a piece of paper that, by golly, it's true, and that's bullshit. They don't know you. I don't care what kind of professional you are. You do not know that individual in 6 hours, 8 hours, or a year. And what makes me mad is a person that lives with something, that has experienced something, and they go to one of these professionals and they tell them, hey, I'm going through this. This is happening to me. And they write down on a piece of paper, I'm worried about Randy. I think he's having a mental breakdown. he shouldn't have his cats. We should remove him immediately and put the cats in a pound where they can be taken care of until Randy can prove that he's okay. But the trick is, Randy, while we're proving you're okay, you're not allowed to talk about what you went through, what you've seen, because that's not real. You have to believe in our reality for us to say you're sane and to release you. That's where I have a problem with it, because people can't come forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If they do, they'll make a mockery out of them, and it'll be hard for them to get a job. They might lose their job, and a lot of people can't afford to lose their job because they have families to feed. So it's all about controlling the truth. Whoever controls the knowledge of the truth, whoever controls the information, is in control of everything. If you think about it, that's why I think we were lied to. How do you hide the truth? You got to change the truth to make the truth a lie, and the lie the truth. And I think we've witnessed that over my 54 years that I've been upon this earth. And I'm sure you've seen some things too, Jesse and Mike.
Yeah.
Well, what one of the problem is too is they don't even have to have no proof. All you have to have is a certain individual with their opinion and the power to say, I believe that that's possible. That's possible. I have no proof. I have nothing to prove it. Randy, I could sit here and tell you tonight, I could say, hey, Randy, I went down to the creek last night, right? And while I'm sitting down there fishing, this werewolf, he walks out of the woods. And while I'm sitting there, he pulls my worms out of my worm container and he eats them like spaghetti right in front of me. And he walks off. Okay. I don't have no proof, right? But it's possible that could have happened. So therefore you have preponderance of evidence, and they suggest, okay, we're going to believe that because you know what? We ain't got no proof. It's outlandish. We can't prove it. We got, this is possible. So we're going to have to say it's true, Mike. And then you're going to have to prove to us, and that's a mistake.
Hey, Mike,
that's a mistake.
Speaking of hypothetical situations, look at how many people you have to have witnessing to have somebody convicted of a felony or a crime that they didn't commit. But if you have enough people saying they did, they'll be convicted of that crime. How many people does it take to witness something that, hey, I've seen this creature. It looks like this. You get sketches of people. You have an artist go and draw a sketch of all these people who've seen the thing, and it's going to look vaguely familiar, but yet we can't prove this creature. No matter how many witnesses you get saying that we saw it, no matter how much evidence, nobody's going to believe you. But yet we can throw somebody in prison for life based on 2 or 3 people saying that they've seen them do something. Something just doesn't seem right about this system, if you ask me. This system, I think, is
it's
my
sad.
opinion.
It's just sad. Yeah, in my opinion, it's sad. I mean, I'm no professional or anything, but
I'm not either.
You can't go and tell somebody I saw something in my house and not have to worry about repercussions. There's something wrong there, I mean, I know that if I'm standing, like our guest is coming on the 15th, if I'm standing in the kitchen, right, and my friend is standing there, which she had her friend in there, and you see something, or Jesse sees it, something shoves me in the back, and you see my shirt move and hear the sound, and man, I hit the floor hard enough, I break my pelvic bone. And then I go tell somebody, hey, I had an entity slam me down and break my pelvic bone. What do you think they're going to say? You slipped and fell on the floor, dude.
You're just imagining it. Your overactive imagination. Again, that stuff don't exist. It's not real. You didn't see what you said you think you've seen.
The first question is, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the first question is usually, what were you on? Were you drinking? Were you on something?
Yeah. We're going to have to take some blood from
you. Were you taking medication? What kind of drugs are you?
Huh?
Yeah.
And I'll even go this far, guys. I'll even go this far. And a lot of the cases that I've reviewed, in my opinion, I speculate and noticed that whenever you have these quote unquote unknown animal attacks that had nothing to do with narcotics, why did the officer spend a third of his report talking about this person being addicted to drugs and how worthless they were to society and how they didn't, contribute to society and how they lived in not the best looking house in town and they never mowed their yard and their dogs were always running wild and he had 6 or 7 lawnmowers out there, and his yard's grown up 3 or 4 cars. But we're not even talking about that. And the reason they do that is they're doing what they call a filler. They are making it seem to you subconsciously that it's okay if a werewolf ate this guy. I mean, he was a bad guy anyways, He wasn't a good person. Because they're never going to write in the report, hey, this guy that donated the money that bought the football field and paid for our brand new gym and all the new buses and he bought, an airplane for such and such and all. He was ate by a damn werewolf last night. Because if they do that, everybody in the town's going to be trying to hunt down a werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely.
In my unprofessional, speculative opinion.
Again, we're just expressing our opinion here. Nothing more.
Entertainment purposes only. This is a show for entertainment. But, I'm going to say one more thing. It's sad that whenever you live somewhere that you have to make something entertainment purposes only whenever we have a constitution that many of our bravest men and women fought for to give us the freedom of speech. And I'll end it there because I could really go off the rails on that one. But yeah.
Maybe share the rest of that story on Patreon sometime.
Speaking of Patreon, Randy, just to let our viewers know, we are doing a Patreon recording. Make sure I get the date right, the 27th. So it'll probably release April 1st, hopefully. Tomorrow night, guys, we're having a live. We are doing a breakdown on another investigation that was given to me. It is a dog man. I know a lot of people have been waiting on a dog man one. So tomorrow night is a dog man breakdown. I don't know, Randy, you're going to be able to join us tomorrow night? Do you know yet?
Should be able to if I'm here. Unless
Okay.
I'm out with the wife. If I'm out with the wife, probably not.
Make sure you take care of her first. Jamie is 120% worth it. She's an awesome person, and you are a blessed man. And God bless both of you guys. I wish you all happiness for many, many more years and many, many more celebrations.
Thank you.
I couldn't do this without you guys, with everybody here. Jesse, the chat, everybody. So Abnormal Investigations is not one person. It's a community of all of us. And I hope that we're able to build a community like, with people like Christopher Cyrus and OCST, Harold and Christy, Blake Dusher, D.A. Roberts, Amanda, the Bigfoot lady. Am I missing any? Because I'm just off the top of my head,
Hey, Mike, I'm wondering when you and Chris are going to get together and do a boots on the ground together somewhere. That'd be cool as hell to watch. You two on a live, maybe get Jesse in there. Go someplace where somebody might get eaten, for a critter snack.
It's at 7:30 p.m. tomorrow night, Chickadee, Central Daylight Time. I guess I could go ahead and put this out there, Randy. I do not know if we're going to do this or not, but at the end of this year, we have been considering having what we're going to call a Squatch camp. And we may try to get everybody together that can come, and we may go to a place and have a Squatch camp where we can share stories and have a bonfire. I don't want to do it like other people have done it in the past. I don't want to make money off of my people. So I don't want to go rent somewhere and charge somebody to drive down and to support me. What I do want to do is I want to hang out with you guys because you're family. So I think what we could do maybe is all of us find a place to go camp, bring our own camping equipment like we're going on a camping trip, bring our own food, do our own thing. We can all hang out at a campfire. We can hang out at each other's fires, have a special time at night. We all meet up and we have a campfire. We share ideas. We share autographs, merchandise, whatever you want to do. I don't want none of your proceeds from it. That is yours. That is your hard work. That is your investigations that you're doing. And I think we all should just meet, enjoy each other's company, and support each other. That is the main thing, I think, in this community. That's what I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be fun.
I think it would be a ball. I think it really would. I could maybe even get Sarah to come, give her some bacon perfume or something and see what happens.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
You just hope nobody ends up as an Oklahoma Scooby snack.
Yeah, that's it. Jesse, since we're going to be on tomorrow night at 7:30, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up, guys. Give you all a break so you'll be prepared tomorrow. You can go ahead and start walking us out of this one, if you would, please. And we'll wrap up another great show.
Well, thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Really appreciate you. We wouldn't be here if you guys weren't here to support us. So thank you, and God bless to each and every one of you that have joined us here tonight. Hope that you all have a great and wonderful rest of the weekend, and hope to see you all tomorrow night. Good night. Goodbye. Randy.
Good evening, everybody. We'd like to thank you for tuning in tonight and joining us and supporting us. We appreciate you tuning in. The Abnormal Investigation Channel, sharing a light into the darkness, revealing the truth about the real world we live in. We'd like to thank each and every one of you for showing up and supporting our channel. Good night. Don't let the werewolves bite.
Literally. Oh, man, I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. Mainly, I want to thank Chris Cyrus for showing up tonight, guys. Go over, show him some love, support him, subscribe to him. He's got a lot of good things coming. I really enjoy him. Thank you, Chris, again for showing up tonight. It was our pleasure and honor to have you on our show. As always, I got to give it out to my main man, Hunter. I love and miss you so much, buddy. Every day of every minute, and I wish I could see you, and if I could, I'd be on my way right now. You're my best friend. You'll always be my best friend. We used to always tell each other that, and I still got you. To everybody else that showed up also to support us, guys, we couldn't do it without you guys. You guys are awesome. Your support is amazing. Come over if you haven't and subscribe to Wide Open Adventures. We're blowing that channel up for Hunter. We got some stuff coming. It's all for Hunter. I want to have that channel up and big when he comes home. So we're really working on that right now. I'll actually be dropping a video tomorrow on it. We'll be live Monday on Wide Open Adventures. It'll be Jesse and Randy, and we'll be doing a retake with Josh. Hopefully his phone will work. If it don't, I'm going to drive over there and have a talk with him. But yeah. I really do appreciate everybody, all the hearts in chat, the purple hearts for Hunter, the green hearts for Logan. It means a lot to us, guys. I hope you all come over tomorrow night too at 7:30 Central Time. Come spend some time with us. It's going to be another scary breakdown. I'm sure Randy's going to really like this one. Randy, it's about a dog man, werewolf. So it should be a really good breakdown. And
we just hope nobody
guys,
gets
we don't what?
We hope nobody gets eaten in this story.
Yeah.
Well, you never know around here.
We love story nights. We love story nights at Mike's house. It'll leave you warm and fuzzy.
Yeah. And Carla, if you watch my video tomorrow on the Wide Open Adventures breakdown, Polo's in trouble. He hurt me today. So Polo is in trouble. We had a little fight today. He really did hurt me, but I'm not going to tell you all what happened. But he did. He got a little rambunctious. He wanted his snacks. But guys, we're going to take off. And thank you again for everything you do. Fill it up with purple hearts, green hearts, guys. Leave some comments after the show. It helps the algorithm. Say hi, hello, goodbye, whatever. And we'll see you tomorrow night at 7:30. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.